Next up, we have one of my favorite exchanges. So this is a token from the exchange SwissBorg. As we can see, quite interesting on the high time frame. We have this previous cycle where we absolutely fully sent up to here. Nice retracement, and we look like we're currently in a accumulation phase. So how would I chart this? So I think first things first, we've got our all-time low, so down here, and if I make that line red, we have our all-time high up here. So make that green, ATH. Right, so what levels do we have on here? So I think this here at 6 cents is an interesting level. So if I make that white on the monthly, as we can see, that was the key level to gain for a potential breakout. We see pokes ahead and then fully up. We've got quite an interesting level here, which also actually, if we move that up slightly, we can encapsulate the 3 candles there. So if I put monthly there, what else do we have? So quite an interesting solid level here. Another one here, as you can see, encompasses that, and then a little bit higher up I think we've got an interesting level there, and then I think maybe if we have that one there to sort of round it off, we can move some of these around, but quite an interesting pattern on the charts as we see this really lovely breakout. So you can see accumulation, it's going between the ranges, comes around. This monthly here appears quite crucial as it was that breakout, it was also that breakout, and it was where this downward trend really landed. So definitely want to keep an eye on. If we go down onto the weekly, what do we see? So again, we see this area here, this monthly, so I think we can potentially, if we zoom in here, we can see those two similar. So if we move that one down to encapsulate there, what do we have? We've got a weekly level here in the middle of the range. We've got an interesting one here. You can see coming down, that's a really interesting level, as we see that's where there was some relief on the downtrend. Going long, we see expected, bounce off the weekly level, and then we see gain off there, maybe push this one up slightly, yeah, to encompass those, come along, and there is a nice little weekly level here just below the current breakout. So very interesting chart, as we can see, gains level, gain level. For me, there's not a huge amount standing between it. I think for me, I'd be looking, I think this was a really nice breakout. I'd look to see how we go in this region, whether or not we have a test of this weekly, push up, potentially gain this level, and then for me, I think the real fun on this begins if you can break this monthly level here. There's not a huge amount standing in its way between coming up here, as we can see, a lot of liquidity up here. We can push right through, and yeah, I think once we sort of break above here, there's a weekly level there that I'll put in. But this could have a really, really good summer, as we can see from a pattern wise. We've got higher high, higher low, slightly, actually no, that's probably not a lower low, but we can see this breaks out here. Nice little pattern here, really, really respecting this monthly level and bouncing off it, pushing up through. Bit of accumulation in this region here, and I think for me on this one, what I'd be looking at is if it can break this weekly and hold, we could then see quite a nice movement upwards. And as with all of these charts, one thing you can do that so you don't miss them is if you click on the line, you can add an alert. So if you click there, you can add an alert for when it crosses that line, and that will come through on your trading view, so you can never miss one of these breakouts. But yeah, honestly, I really love SwissBorg. I use it personally. The token is a staple of supporting the exchange, and I think, in all honesty, this has, as a chart, this looks quite nice. I think you're fairly limited for the downside. I think you'd potentially on this be looking at invalidation of breaking this level here, and then if it wasn't to hold this level here, I'd then possibly be looking at how it reacts at this monthly, and if not, you'd then looking at this retest of the lows back in 2020. In all honesty, it's a great chart, and I think from a risk reward perspective, it certainly gives you a lot more than some of the other tickers. So this is Future Wizard coming back to have a look at the chart we made for SwissBorg, so the ticker BORG. I believe when we charted it out, it was sort of the bottom of this range. I think I did it, what was it, last week? So if we have a look. Yeah, so I believe it was around here. So as we can see, continues to absolutely respect the range. We have quite a strong level of support here. We have quite a strong level of resistance. We've touched that resistance again and tested it. We've bounced off it. And I think ultimately I'm quite bullish, because if we look, we keep the amount of times we've tested this and rejected off, but then we've had support here, so we can see rejection, 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 and rejection. This to me is starting to feel quite bullish, especially sort of if we look on the 4 hour and zoom out, we can see that this range is really, really starting to consolidate now. And given the price action we have had in this box, I think once we break this weekly range, I think we move quite quickly up to this monthly level. It wouldn't surprise me at all if we were to potentially see something similar to that. And then because we've had so much action in here, as you can see, we've had, this is on the 4 hours, so we've had a lot of price action in this area. I think once we move through here, it would not surprise me at all to see a very fast and very violent move from here up to here. To me, this area here screams we don't really have a reason to stop in here. It feels to me like we are in a point where once we break this monthly level, we could move very violently up towards here and look to take some of the liquidity up here. And zooming out, what do we have? Zooming out, so if we go back onto the weekly, yeah, we can see, look, once we move there, we have a big area here, so we might find some support here, push up again. This area here, we have a lot of price action here, and so it wouldn't surprise me to see range, range, range. Once we get into here, violent up to here, and then look to sweep some of this, and then potentially up to here. So definitely a token to have on your list. Exchange tokens are always quite good anyway, because exchange tokens tend to be very, very lucrative when you're in bull cycles, particularly as you get towards the end. I think we can see here that was towards the end of a bull cycle. So yeah, I am very, very bullish on this. I love SwissBorg as an exchange, and I love Borg as a token. I love some of the innovative stuff they do. So one of the things that I really like is they've started doing these trading vaults for these alpha vaults. They're really good actually. So you can deposit some money in, and it uses various automated trading strategies. So if you're someone who is quite a passive investor but wants exposure to large caps but don't have the time to trade, these are really good. You can just dump some money in, and the experts at SwissBorg will automate some strategies, and yeah, the returns can be pretty good. I would definitely, not financial advice, but I would definitely recommend checking it out. And yeah, overall very, very bullish on SwissBorg, and I think definitely Borg is a token to keep an eye on. There's a lot of upside in here, a lot of RR, and you've had quite a long period of consolidation, so a period of upward expansion would be very welcomed indeed.